Alright everybody, fasten your seatbelts because there's a couple topics today. I'm going to go in depth on one of the worst updates I've ever seen to a video game, and this is the final update for Them's Fightin' Herds. One of the most overpowered characters ever released in a professional product, almost one of the most broken characters ever conceived. And what happens when a publisher, in this case Maximum Entertainment, fires the entire development team before they finish the DLC that people paid for? I know that this video is a little bit on the longer side, so I will put timestamps in the description for the different topics, but if you stick around, we're going to talk about the contents of this update, why it's so terrible, and why the final DLC character got banned immediately upon her release. And then after that's over, we will talk about the frankly shameful behavior of the publisher, their terrible treatment of their employees, as well as the paying customers. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about what our future holds, how the publisher might end up behaving, and how we move forwards as a small community. And I think we can move forward. Before I get into this though, I did want to use whatever amount of platform I have to bring some visibility to this GoFundMe campaign. I'm sure that many people watching already know it, but Goth Oppression is a highly valued member of our community, as well as a tournament organizer and an artist, and it's in a bit of a tough spot right now with their housing situation at risk. Also, I owe him big time because I actually ripped off one of his Baihe discoveries just for a viral tweet. I'm so sorry. I know this doesn't make up for it. I would really like to see this campaign meet its goal. I unfortunately know what it's like to not have stable housing, and it's scary and it sucks, and I hate seeing someone in our community in what seems to be an even worse spot than I was in. I contributed what I'm able to, and I hope you consider it too. Even if you share it, that helps, so I'll link both to the campaign and to the Twitter post about it below. They're also taking art commissions, and you can help that way too. One time I posted art on my birthday, and they made an HD version of it, and it was so awesome. So I really like their art. I'm not even kidding, I got a little bit emotional when I saw this post. Okay, thank you for letting me talk about that. I'm going to get into the rest of our discussion now. It's been extremely difficult to finish this video because every couple hours that I don't finish it, like a new glitch is discovered or there's a new PR blunder on the part of Maximum Entertainment, and it's just a total mess. Okay, let's start by diving into the contents of the patch. I'm going to start by talking about stuff that's a little less extreme, and then we're going to bump it up until it's totally crazy. Also, we don't know the full contents of the patch because they didn't release patch notes. It's been days, they're not coming out. This is like Smash 4 where you just have to check every single thing in the game to see if it's been changed. Guys, I think Shanty feels faster. Hey Maxo, next time you think about releasing a patch and no patch notes, just kill me instead. This new update gives us the final 2 characters in the $20 season pass, which many people already paid for. The first one is Nidra the Tapir here on the left. She's actually very cool and appears to be mostly finished, so I won't spend a ton of time on her. The idea with Nidra is she has a kit of like normal moves, but also she has these 3 stances that she can go into. Each of these stances has its own kit of moves that she can use to confuse her opponent and mount an offense. She has some other really cool mechanics. When she's in her sleeping stance, she's actually filling up a meter that she can spend to shoot orbs. She's an orb character, and if you fill up that meter all the way, then you can spend it to enter her awakened state, which is like a Street Fighter V style V trigger. You activate it, and now the orbs cost about half as much, and you can fill up the orb meter just by like doing attacks. So it makes her offense significantly stronger. I think Nidra is really cool, personally. I think a lot of us are happy to have her in the game. She fits in. She has a lot of really cool touches, like when you let her idle like this, you can see she just keeps getting more sleepy until she falls asleep, and then my magic meter fills up. I love her voice acting and the sounds she makes as she like tosses and turns in her sleep. Also, she's a cool taunt, and her theme shreds. So I really like Nidra, but she does have a huge problem, and it's stemming from a game-breaking bug. The easiest setup for it, because there's a few, is if you land a level 1 super, and then anywhere on the screen you can do an air level 1 canceled into level 2 during the startup. So this takes 3 bars, but it will permanently deactivate your opponent. If you had the life lead, of course, this results in a win for Nidra, and Baihe can't do anything. She can't be hit again. This is terrible for our casual player base who just wants to go online and do some matches and they get freeze glitched by a troll, but in tournament I don't see this having any impact at all. Now thankfully, you would never really get this glitch on accident. You would kind of have to know what you were doing because it's not really something you would go for otherwise. And obviously, if you performed the glitch in tournament, you would get disqualified. So really all you have to do as the Nidra player is learn what the setup is and then avoid doing that highly specific sequence of actions. Alright, I'm recording this part much later because it turns out maybe we should be at least a little concerned for Nidra's balance because of this move here called Wake Up. It requires 1 magic to perform, and it's been discovered that even with 0 magic, you can still do it as long as you cancel into it from Knight Stance A. It's hard to be certain, but this seems like an unintended behavior, and the reason it's so strong is it allows Nidra to access much higher resourceless damage than the rest of the cast very easily. This wasn't optimized even a little bit, and it still did more than half of Velvet's life bar, so maybe we should ask for Nidra to be fixed. In any case, this is still way less damage than Baihe would have done. Speaking of Baihe, I'm going to move on to this character now. She is comprehensively busted in ways that complement each other and make it difficult to talk about her. I will go into what I think her intended design is, and then we'll go on from there about how extreme things get. Baihe is described in the pre-release materials as a zoner. That is absolutely one of the things that she can do. She has more fireballs than anyone else, and they're very fast to start up and recover, and they're all air okay. They cover an insane amount of angles, and they're complemented with an air dash. This does pretty cleanly make her the most mobile zoner in fighting herds, but this is not why I think she's broken. She's very good against incoming fireballs. She can clank them out with her own, or she can like go under, she can go over and shoot way more fireballs way faster than you could, or like hide behind this 3B, which destroys fireballs continuously. But she also has a reverse DP motion special that's air okay. It's frame 5, which means it's tied with the fastest normals in the game. And when it's successful, it shoots a fireball that homes in on your opponent's location and launches them. This is pretty good. Last thing I'll say about her intended gameplay, she has a stance on 5D where you play a mini game. If you get a perfect reload like Gears of War, you can fill up your magic meter fast and then shoot a ton of fireballs. This is not why she's busted. The stance is notably armored on frame 1. If you hit the stance, she fills up her magic meter entirely. That's enough about how she might be intended to play it. Let's talk about how she is. Having frame 1 armor accessible with no resource cost is extremely strong. This is made even stronger by the fact that there's no commitment to using stance, because you can just dash out of it. In fact, you could forward dash, back dash, do any of her jumps. You can air dash out of it. You can use specials out of it, including Reflector. And she has a unique counter out of it for what it's worth. This is a really extreme kit of options. Now consider that her normals all cancel into this stance, and she has an incredible kit of normals, but also her specials cancel into the stance, which means that all of her normals and most of her specials are cancelable into everything I just listed earlier. There is no character that has anywhere near this much freedom. So Baihe actually never has to be unsafe unless she chooses to, because everything that cancels into stance is plus on stance jump. So that means no matter what read you might have, she will be safe. So the funny thing just about this situation is if you respect her, she will restart her pressure by air dashing back in, and if you don't respect her, she will kill you. You might think Texas's unblockable 6A is good here, but it doesn't quite have enough range to stop her, and also she can counter hit you for doing it. If Texas has a read on this pressure reset, he can try to jab out, but now he's open to getting counter hit, he's open to getting air armored, he's open to me just continuing the string because she never runs out of cancels, or to me just retreating to full screen and beginning my zoning pattern again. Because her firecracker flips on 1D and 4D are resourceless and just allow her to cancel even specials into a full screen retreat. Yeah, so despite being a zoner, you can actually always be safe from absolutely everything, even when your opponent has a read. This is very unusual for this game, to put it lightly. Before we get into the really busted stuff, I want to note that she can throw fireballs in the air as many times as she wants. The only rule is that there can't be two of the same one on the screen at the same time, so that's very funny. She doesn't really lose height, you can just do it for a while. Also, her 214A does cause her to gain height, so you could, in theory, escape off the top of the screen if you had the execution, and never see your opponent again and become uninteractable. We're going to talk about her best move soon, but she also has the 3 best command normals in the game, starting with 3B, which can be cancelled into from heavies, or anything else, I suppose. It's 0 on block, meaning it's an incredible stagger point, especially when you consider that it can cancel into specials or your stance or whatever. So the sky's the limit here. If for whatever reason you got push blocked out and it whiffs, it just leaves behind the fire, and if they stick a hitbox into it, they'll get hit. Or it'll block fireballs too. And if you believe it, this move is reflectable too. So there's a lot going on. Next is her anti-air 6A, which is slow for this game at frame 14, but is massive, way bigger than the other ones, and stays for way longer. There's no way to exist in the skies at the same time as this. It also does not whip crouchers, so it's better than Tianwo's in that regard, and has massive disjointed range. And if you do another one, it just deletes the first one, and you can have 100% uptime on controlling the skies like this. And it's reflectable. Whoa. Last up is 6C, this giant fireball, which is special and stance cancelable. It can be canceled into from your heavies, so no matter how far you are into your stagger, you can do it. It's +1 on block, so if you're frame perfect, you can actually counter hit people for trying to jab on this. For a little bit of added context, the only normal besides this that is straight up plus on block is Texas 2B, and that character doesn't have a dash. The frame data is so ridiculous on this that if she actually hits you with the stagger point, the combo just keeps going. They're wildly plus on hit, so she doesn't even have to notice if she hit you. Her pressure will just combo. I'm showing Strong Hoof 5B because it's one of the best stagger points in the entire game, and that's -2. Which means that if his opponent knows he's going to do it, there's an interaction where they can actually try to jab him out of the pressure reset, or Strong Hoof can keep the string going and counter hit them for doing it. Baihe always recovers first, so if you try to jab her out of her staggers, she just hits you. Now consider that with no resource investment, she can cancel any move at all on hit or block into a frame 24 overhead that's plus on block, starts combos, and can cross up. So let's say in theory the Baihe player messed up and she was not plus on block for whatever reason. At range, you can't really contest her normals because they don't extend hurt boxes, and they're significantly larger than yours, and if you blocked one, you're going to get block stringed into plus frames for no resource commitment on her end. And also, even if you really were swinging first, she has frame 1 armor into an invincible backdash, and if I haven't been clear, you will die if you hit her armor. So I had to kind of gloss over her stance fireballs earlier. They are actually insane. You can, of course, chuck a million of them, and that's not what makes them good. What makes them good is that they're identical to the normal fireballs you can throw, except they don't have recovery, so you can actually like dash in at someone with a plus on block fireball that, you know, has no commitment at all. You can do it in the air too with any of these. This also means it's extremely easy to reflect your own fireball. The reflects are extremely plus on block, and if one ever lands, Baihe will win the whole round. Magic is extremely trivial to get with this character, and that does mean that in the prior examples, anytime I mentioned something being stance cancelable, it is also cancelable into this like plus on block fireball. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, if you hit Baihe's armor, it will fill up her magic to the top like it just did, and you'll notice I invincible backdash out of the way, the second jab. You have to do something about that second jab because it is only 1 hit of armor. Thankfully, if Baihe absorbs anything with the armor stance, the next attack she does is fully invulnerable. That white hurt box I had means that I cannot be hit, and that extends to the fireball that I just obtained 6 of. This has all been so crazy I forgot her supers. Her level 3 can whip punish anything. It's like frame 12 and it hits the entire floor. Also her level 1 is not much less insane than that. It also hits the entire screen instantly. It is kind of hard to punish, actually. Definitely minus, but you'd be surprised how safe it is, like especially when used in the air. It's like that's only -11. You're not gonna punish that. And like the real insane thing about this is you might have noticed there's like a gap between the first round of hits and the second, but It's so messed up. If you try to invincible through it, the game crashes. My game just crashed. It crashes the consoles too. So at this point, you might see this character as bannable already, but I have not even talked about her best move. Siege Cannon is a move that drains all of Baihe's magic meter to do a plus 23 on block or better fireball that will like pull your opponent in. And it's kind of difficult to react to raw. And also, it sucks your opponent in from like full screen for a full combo. It also does a hard knockdown, so you could like try to run a mix-up after landing one of these at full screen if you needed a reset to kill. This is editing Poco from the future. I forgot to mention that Siege Cannon is not just a hard knockdown, but a hard knockdown even at maximum juggle decay. This is a huge rule break in this game. It means you can have your cake and eat it too, do an extremely long combo, and then still get a mix-up at the end. This is something that has previously only been reserved for Texas, and that character doesn't have a dash. So you need at least one magic to perform Siege Cannon normally, but if you are in your armor stance, you can just use it. Like, it effectively has no cost as long as you're in stance. So the real input for it, like the effective input for it, is D623D. And then you can shoot a Siege Cannon whenever you want, from whatever position you want. And that means anytime I was saying that something was cancelable in the stands, you can also just do it in the Siege Cannon, even if you don't have a resource. So this is pretty cool. I hate to put the Siege Cannon talk on hold, but I've just been informed that if you do a Baihe special with the Tiger D input, it's just fully invulnerable. Like, do you see that my hurt box turns white here? That's just invulnerable. You can do it with the fireballs. She's hella banned. I haven't even talked about the thing I want to talk about yet. I'm gonna hurry this up since I guess at this point I don't need to convince anyone that she should be banned, considering she can spend the entire round invincible and there's nothing you can do about it. So let's just talk about the infinite. She has an infinite. She has two infinites. We've never really had infinites in this game because there's an infinite protection system, which causes the characters to fall faster as you combo them. And you can see this in Oleander's bar near her life bar, where it becomes progressively darker in color to signify how fast she's going to fall towards the ground, and eventually they're just too fast to combo. Now, some of Baihe's moves do not cause the game to recognize that the opponent should be falling faster. Those moves include the Reflect, of all things, all of the fireballs, 6A, 6C, and Siege Cannon. And probably something else for all I know. But that means if you have a combo that only uses those moves, it will never drop. So that's a lot of moves that are eligible for the infinite. We've found like 2 match practical ones, but there are probably many more if we're being realistic. So anything you do that can go into Siege Cannon can be a 6A Siege Cannon loop forever. And once you reach the corner, you do 6A, 236C, and this you do this until they die or the timer runs out. It's really easy. Please don't do this to people. I wanted to move on from talking about Baihe, but I forgot to mention that if she does a special with reversal timing, like on wake up or on block, it's just fully invulnerable, like front to back, like beginning to end. On its own, this would be bannable, but it's also obsolete within Baihe's own kit because you can do anything fully invulnerable, even without reversal timing. So that's very funny. I did not talk about every single thing that's good about her, and even then, when you put this all together, she winds up being better than all the other characters at every moment and at every range. It's pretty much indisputable that she has the best neutral, the best combos, and the best pressure. I was gonna say her mix-ups are lacking, but then I labbed a bit, and now I think she has some of the best mix in the game. It's not as good as Palms, but it's a little closer to Tianwo than you might think. It feels like a huge understatement to call her a zoner. I think she lands somewhere between boss character and god. Here's some stuff I couldn't fit anywhere else in the video. Sometimes if Paprika's player 1 and Baihe's player 2, then Paprika just gets frozen in time and can't do anything. This is tournament footage. Another glitch that was just reported and I was able to verify is that if you own only one of these DLC characters, you cannot do their combo trials because all of the combo trials were recorded against the other DLC, which you don't own. And even if you did own both characters, the combo trials don't all work. For example, Nidra Master 2, you can see even the recording can't do it, probably because of changes made after the developers were let go. For any Baihe combo recording containing a level 2 backdraft or a 6A, it just shows up as a blank space. There's no way to know what combo you're supposed to do unless you just watch the recording. This character actually has port priority. If you land her level 3 super as player 1, it does about 2000 damage, but for player 2, it only does 1300 damage. For whatever reason, the second to last hit misses, and you miss out on half of the damage of the entire super. This is actually out damaged just by doing level 1, cancelled into level 2, and then another level 1. Unlike everybody else, Nidra's guard cancel attack is not fully invincible. It can actually trade. This is terrible for her. Baihe has a combo throw in the corner, but unlike other characters, this doesn't have any scaling. So at this point, you should understand just how wildly inappropriate it was for Maximum to consider this a finished update. This is not shippable. And while these characters are very fun, the issues that they're associated with make the game worse than it was before the update. So I'm done talking about the gameplay. The rest of this video, we're talking about the circumstances. Real quick, if you are not familiar with this project and you don't know what I'm talking about with the company history, this game had its roots as a fan game that through crowdfunding was able to become its own property with its own characters and identity. And the team that developed it is called Misc. I'm glossing over years of history here, but the point is this is a project with extremely humble beginnings, and it's made by people who love fighting games for people who love fighting games. Years go by, this game builds a dedicated community of players and receives several updates, and that brings us to like 2022, where they get acquired by Maximum Entertainment. This was almost universally seen as great news for everyone in the community. So the game now in theory had a budget, and they immediately announced a season pass that would bring the roster from 7 characters to 11. They would also be able to finish the story mode. And this brings us to our current situation. A lot of details are murky and confusing because of the lack of transparency on the publisher's part, but we'll go over what we know. So the first 2 season pass characters come out, Texas and Stronghoof, and the third one, Nidra, is announced. Several months pass, and then it's also announced that the story mode is cancelled now. This was a very sad and confusing moment for people who were looking forward to that content, but not as sad as when, like a month later, one of the developers tweeted that almost the entire team had just been laid off. So as it turns out, Maximum Entertainment decided to indulge in some layoffs right before the holidays, and that involved scaling back the size of Main 6 from about 15 people to 3 people. It's also my understanding that of those 3 people who remained, 2 of them are no longer with the company, so I think it's pretty safe to say that the development team was dissolved, and this was 2 months before we had received the update. Also, as a quick aside, I don't know if this is a problem yet or not, but I wanted to get ahead of it just in case. All of the people who were on this team are real people and they deserve privacy. I don't think we should speculate on any individual's employment status, and I don't think we should pressure anyone into making a statement that they don't want to make. If they have something to say, they'll say it. Getting back on topic here, the layoffs were concerning for a million different reasons. First and foremost being that the developers had very active involvement in their own games community and in the greater fighting game community. So naturally, a lot of people consider them to be friends and were concerned when they all unexpectedly lost their jobs right before the holidays. And then there's the perspective of the players. We didn't even know if the season pass had finished development yet, and even if it had, there would be no one to patch it if something went wrong with the update. The publisher didn't really do much to ease our worries either. They reassured us that the update would still come out, but we didn't know what condition it would be in, and again, who would patch it. Of course, now we know that they just decided to ship what they had, whether it was finished or not. We actually do know from one of the former devs that the team was in the middle of a quality assurance pass when they were let go, And looking at the update we got, that definitely makes sense. I guess Maximum just doesn't care about QA. It was at this point that we also learned that our community was at risk, because every moderator in the Discord lost their permissions at the same time, and now the only admin is some guy named Andre who we had never heard of before. Apparently it's this guy. Maybe we should have known who he was. Nice directing, by the way. Anyway, he had a long, glorious history in the Fighting Herds Discord where he sent a grand total of 1 message, he performed 1 action as moderator, and he amassed a staggering 0.6 hours in the game that he is moderating for. It appears that he has the achievement for beating story mode. That's one hell of a speedrun, but I don't know if it's faster than Cam's. Also, since you're watching my video, that means I get to talk about this. The only moderator action that we actually witnessed him doing was he handed a 10-minute timeout to me! That's right, I was being a rascal. I was being sneaky. And guys, I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. On the day of the layoffs, I changed my name to Modus Person. That's identity theft. Let's look at the stats for identity theft. You guys, this could happen to anyone. And if you're not financially in a position to put them in a 10-minute timeout. As of this recording, he has privated like all of his accounts and left the Discord, so I have no idea what's going on. I'm making some jokes at this guy's expense. However, him going on private seems to be a pretty clear indicator that he does not want to be contacted about the drama surrounding this game. I'm not aware of people going in his DMs and harassing him, but I'm just going to take a wild guess and say someone has already sent something rude to him in DMs. And if you do something like that, that's not cool. I'm serious. Do not reach out to him. Just direct your anger at the company and they will figure out what to do. Also, it was actually very bad, though, that he was the only moderator, because it meant that you couldn't get banned unless he did it. And we don't have much reason to believe he looked at the chat a second time. So when trolls found out about this, they started posting explicit images, and there was nothing we could really do about it in the official server for the ESRB E10 Plus rated game. Thank you, Maximum Entertainment. So before you get any funny ideas, the old moderator team was able to negotiate that permission back. So if you try to post that shit, you will get banned. But there's still a bunch of other issues with the Discord. Like, Nidra and Baihe still don't have their own character channels, so if you discover some tech for them, you just have to post it in the general chat. And of course, the biggest problem with the Discord is that it's not owned by the community, it's owned by a corporation, and while I'm sure they're gonna leave it around for a little while longer, I don't know that. They could delete it tomorrow, they could delete it while I'm recording this. There's no way to feel secure about it. That Discord server holds like 10 years of this community's culture, discoveries, like their friendships. This is way too much to hand to a corporation. A lot of the original art that got posted in that art channel, I don't think ever got posted anywhere else. Now the company's behaving very erratically, and it's hard to tell like what's gonna happen next with the Discord or with anything else. On Twitter, they've been getting roasted in the QRTs and ratioed by hidden replies, which is very funny. They actually posted a tweet where they announced that this update was finally out, and it had a video of Nidra doing a combo that cost 5 bars, which is impossible in a match. It was very funny, and they got ratioed so hard they took it down, so it's lost media now. They've also started blocking people, which is hilarious, but I'd just like to remind everyone not to make like personal attacks against their social media manager. That's not who we should be angry with. But it is a company Twitter account, so you should ratio them, especially if it's going to be funny. Their behavior on Twitter.com is pretty funny, but they're doing other stuff that's a little more concerning. Like, they've started privating a bunch of resource documents that used to be available to the players, such as the media kit, which contains a bunch of the promotional assets, and the spreadsheet that has a list of all of the cosmetic items in the game. That's lost media now. Well, it's lost media for us, but not for them. It's just rotting in their Google Drive, being of use to nobody. And when they were asked if they could release it so maybe we could archive it or mirror it on our own end, they said they can't do that, which is, by the way, a lie. Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit, they probably just meant they don't know how to do it, but that's no excuse. One of the other documents they privated is the one that tracks the fulfillment status of the backer rewards, because yes, this is a crowdfunded game and there are still unfulfilled backer rewards. Presumably, the company is not going to fulfill them, but they'll never tell you that. When I started recording this, I was also really concerned about the status of the website and the forums, which disappeared yesterday, just like out of the blue with no warning. The website for the game is actually back now though, so maybe the forums will come back too. I don't know. This one might be incompetence rather than malice. Okay, now the forums are back too, so I guess we have our answer. So another funny thing is that Maximum Entertainment posted like a week ago this like investors update on their YouTube channel where they say they actually just had a really successful year.
This resulted in one of the best revenue years ever for our publishing division.
And they also secured a license deal with like Paramount to do a Last Airbender fighting game.
We have entered into a partnership with Paramount Consumer Products to develop a competitive multiplayer fighting game set in Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. Early access.
Which a lot of people got excited about and then immediately realized who was behind it, and then we're not as excited about it anymore. But that calls into question, if you're in a successful year, why would you have to lay off a whole team? Why would you do it right before Christmas? Why would you do it to a team that's working on content that people paid for already and will reflect negatively on you when it's not finished? And why would you do that to the team that is clearly the most qualified to work on this license you just secured and are advertising to investors? So that's what happened with the publisher. Really a shame and kind of a mark on their reputation. But where do we as a community go from here? Well, the game is still very playable. I still plan on playing it. It's going to be a combo breaker as a main game this year. I'm certain that Baihe will be banned, so we don't have to really worry about that. I will say that all of these problems with the patch though are stuff we found just in like one day of having it. So if things get substantially worse, we actually, like if the game became actually unplayable for some reason, you're actually able to go in Steam and then right click the game properties, betas, and in beta participation there's an option that says stable branch, and to my knowledge that is simply the previous update before this crazy one came out. So worst case, all the Steam players could still play on that on self-hosted lobbies and in the classic lobbies. The thing we do have to worry about with rolling back versions though is I think we would lose crossplay with all the other versions, and that would leave a bunch of players in the dark. And also I think Nidra is cool enough that she should get her own chance to shine in competitive play, and Baihe is perfect for like side brackets where everyone can play that character and we can all see who is the best at playing a boss character who could not be beaten. I'd like to mention too that there is at least one Maximum Entertainment employee posting in the bug reports channel on Discord who has been saying that they are investigating all of the issues that we've been posting, and kind of the implication there is that maybe we could get a fix. I'd like to ask anyone, please don't harass any employee over at Maximum Entertainment, but especially not the person who might actually end up fixing our game. I doubt that they're responsible for any of the issues we've had leading up to this point, and while I wouldn't bet on us getting another update, I wouldn't buy the game if that's something you're counting on. I would love to see them pull it off, honestly. I hope they do it. Thank you if you took the time to listen to this whole thing. It got much longer than I expected it to be, but hopefully it could be informative to someone or interesting. In the meantime, we should probably archive anything that's important to us. We don't know how long we'll have access to anything that's controlled by Maximum. And that includes the Discord, so we should probably be prepared to move to a different one in the event that it just randomly gets deleted. People have kind of floated that we could move to either Fightin Fanatics or the Herds Battle Tower. I'm in both of them. I'll link them for you in case you wanted to join. Speaking of Battle Tower, please check out their TO's GoFundMe if you think you could help. I'd just like to leave it on the note that Fighting Herds is the coolest fighting game, and we're going to still keep playing it. I think you should play it too. It's going to be a combo breaker. We can run the set. If you're in Chicago, I'll link the frickin' Chicago Fighting Herds Discord and we can play locally. And please don't harass anyone involved with the project. Also, fuck you, Modus Games. I'm not going to play Diesel's nuts. I'm not going to let my comment section turn into Mike Z discourse. And I'm not playing the fucking Avatar game either.
Diesel Legacy features real cars on real tracks with real drivers.